Stephen. Isn't our world currently in crisis with the very, very deadly coronavirus affecting so many thousands of people? Listening to the news this week, me personally, I was really impacted by the news report about the first young child being diagnosed in Australia with this virus. This young child would be so petrified, wouldn't he? Not only the child, but imagine the parents. I'm a parent, there's many parents here. Put yourself in that child's parents' shoes. The parents would be worried. The parents would be so helpless. The parents and this child is in severe crisis. As parents, if one of our children is sick, unwell, if one of our children is gravely ill, we would do anything, everything to attend to our children's needs. Well, in our text this morning, we see that there is a crisis that this nobleman is facing. And this crisis needs attending. Look in verse 46. He's called a royal official. We're not told if he's a Jew or a Gentile. But he is likely to be a Gentile working for the Roman governor, the Herod Antipas at the time. And this man is of a noble character. He is the upper class of society. And we are told he had servants. And in verse 46b, we see this nobleman's son being ill at this place called Capernaum. Now turn to the person next to you and say, Capernaum. Well, Capernaum is on the fringe of the Sea of Galilee. Now, some of you have been privileged to go to Israel and have been on the Sea of Galilee. And Capernaum is right on the northern tip of it. And this nobleman walks all this way to Cana to see Jesus. He's desperate. He's walked 29 kilometers. He walks a long way. And this terrain from the lower part of Sea of Galilee to Cana would be quite uphill. 29 kilometers. Now, speaking of walking, let me plug the Go to Extra Mile walk that the Casey Crawlers will be walking on the 2nd of May. 50 kilometers around Listerfield Lake, 4 circuits to raise funds for those children in Uganda. You don't have to walk 50. You can do 12 or 26, 40 or 50. So there's room for everyone, or perhaps you might like to volunteer. But the 50 Ks around Listerfield took us about 11 to 12 hours. All right, this man has walked 29 kilometers, so that would be roughly around 6 hours of walking uphill. Uphill. This man is desperate. He's in a crisis that needs attending because he wants healing for his son, his precious son, which we are told since he was about to die. Being a parent, that's what we would do if our children were gravely ill. He attends to his crisis. Now the nobleman, the royal official, makes a mistake. What's his mistake? In the texts, he says Jesus to come down from that high elevated place in Cana to come down to Capernaum. He wants Jesus to come with him, come down to Capernaum and heal his son. His mistake is he does not believe in Jesus' powerful word that can heal from a distance. So Jesus says in 48, unless you people see signs and wonders, he puts in the plural, you will not believe. Why does he put the you in the plural in the Greek? That's really important. See, he's addressing the official, but also the crowd around him. The Jews and the Gentiles wanted him to do all these miracles. They want to marvel at the signs and they wonder at what Jesus was doing. Like in verse 45, the Galileans. They wanted to see and marvel at these miracles, but they didn't want to understand what was underneath the sign. Last week I shared why John uses the word sign and not miracle. 7 signs in this gospel, and we're at our second one. He uses the word sign for us to go underneath, to understand what's deeper, what Jesus is trying to teach the people then and also now. See, the people then did not recognize, didn't look behind the signs and what they meant. They didn't recognize who Jesus was, the powerful one, the almighty one, the promised Messiah that was amongst them. Well, this desperate father, who is in major crisis, which needed attention. In 49, look at 49, he pleads for a second time. Sir, you could hear it in his voice, Sir, come down before my son dies. He's pleading with Jesus. He's crying to Jesus because his son is about to die. He's earnestly calling on the Saviour to pull him out of his rut, in his crisis, to call on him for him to save. Isn't it true that sometimes we get complacent? When life is cruisy and rosy, when we don't get stuck in the mud, when we can just plow through those avenues and roads of life, when finances are abundant, when health is good, that pleading, that earnest crying to the Lord in prayer goes by the wayside. And when crises come, when trouble roars, when sickness attacks us, we are so much more desperate in our prayers to the Lord. I want to sincerely thank the 5 out of 330 of us, the 5 that gathered for our prayer meeting on Wednesday morning, to call on the name of the Lord as a church family like the early church did, to earnestly cry out to the Lord in prayer for us as a church family.